Us on our fourth annual morning of inspiration. It's great to have everybody. Firstly, I would like to thank Rabbi Shu. Who's going to be here this morning. He sent regards for opening the doors of our beautiful shul and hosting today's shir. We would like to also thank the following individuals who have dedicated this morning's event. Anonymous for Refuah Shalema of Rachel Nadia at Bilha Mitra b'toch Shar Chol Israel. Also Jonathan and Charlene Aminoff, Benny and Carolyn Hematian, Mashiach and Kandam Kalati, and Yosef and Kelly Nitzani. May the zechut of this event bring your families much shefa, bracha, and hatzlacha in all that you do. Rishut Rabbi. One of the most striking images in Rosh Hashanah davening is the line in the Unatane Tokef that says, "V'chol ba'ei olam ya'avrun lefanecha kivnei maron." All of mankind will pass before you, meaning Hashem, like a shepherd pasturing his flock. The simplest meaning of Bnei Maron is like sheep that pass in front of the shepherd one by one. The Gemara that was learned in the Daf Yomi about 2 months ago, Daf Lamed Vav and Baba Batra, discusses what should someone do if he finds a lost animal, how to get it back to its owner. The process. Interestingly, the Gemara says if you find a goat or a sheep, they're very unique because the rules of these animals is that they never roam on their own. They're never running around without someone with them. They don't drift away. They always stay within the vicinity of the one who takes care of them. It's either the owner or the shepherd. They don't just walk away. So there was a town called Nehardea. This is what the Gemara says. There were Arab thieves roaming in the streets in that town. And in that town, when shepherds would deliver to other shepherds the sheep, they would do it miyada layada mishame. They delivered the sheep hand to hand. They would never leave the sheep alone. Therefore, even in that town, if you find a sheep, you look around, you see who's with him. It's considered to be either the shepherd or the owner, even in such a place. I heard a story, a beautiful story about the Chafetz Chaim Zechar Tzadik Livracha, and he once heard an interesting insight about this Gemara from a bathhouse caretaker. The pasuk in Tehillim in Tzadik Hey says, "Va'anachnu am marito v'tzon yado," meaning we are the nation that Hashem pastures and the sheep of His hand. HaKadosh Baruch Hu always makes sure that we are not wandering alone. Chafetz Chaim loved this Perush so much that he would repeat it often to people that he would meet. We thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for giving us this privilege to be part of His sheep, and thank Him for not leaving His sheep without a shepherd. Our tzaddikim, our rebbeim, like Moshe Rabbeinu, our first Rabbi, was called Raya Mehemna in the Zohar Kadosh. A faithful sheep, a faithful shepherd, We feel privileged, very privileged to have Rabbi here with us this morning. Thank you, Rabbi, for fitting us into Rabbi's extremely busy schedule.
No, you're sure you got very good at that. I could sat and listened the whole time. Oh, Hashem. I haven't seen you in a while. There's so many people here who I love. Always in my tefillas, and have never left my heart. This is a Beis Medrash. This is a kehillah. Many years ago, I dreamt of. Together with a couple of the Chavra, we were sitting in Queens and talking about the possibility of there being such a place and what the name should be. And here we are. It's our last stop on the way to Yerushalayim. Everybody agrees? Masking. Good. So much has happened since I last saw you. So much has happened this past year. And it would take many, many days and weeks to share with you my feelings and my thoughts. But there's one very, very important point that I want to make. I'll begin with the words of the Rambam. The Rambam, in the third parak of Hilchos Shuvah, the Rambam is bringing from the Gemara in Kedushin. You all know this, it's very famous. The Rambam says, "Lefichach tzarich kol adam shira atzmo kol hashana kula, kilu chetzio zakeh v'chetzio chayiv." A person should see himself as being half innocent and half guilty. Chen kol olam kula, in the whole world, chetzio zakeh v'chetzio chayiv. Choter chet echad. The whole world, a person should imagine the whole world is on the balance. All worlds are in the balance. And chotar chet echad, if the person, if you or I make a mistake, if we do something we shouldn't do, harei hechriya atzmo v'hechriya es kol ha'olam kulo l'kaf chayva. Then chas v'chalila, since everything is in the balance, if you or I do something we shouldn't, then we could tip the scale of all creation. And we could bring destruction upon the world. But also mitzvah achas. Person, the Rambam says, should see himself, should see herself in such a way that also mitzvah achas, that if I do this one mitzvah, I'm able to mamish save the entire world. Besides saving my own life, my own existence in this world, I could change the entire world. And we could bring salvation. Hatzalah, we could rescue the world. As it says in Pasuk, the tzaddik yesod olam. The tzaddik is the foundation of the world. The entire world depends upon every thought, word, and action of the tzaddik. And all of us here right now are Hashem tzaddikim, amech kulam tzaddikim. A Jew is a tzaddik. Amech kulam tzaddikim. Tzaddik yesod olam zeh shetzidek atzmo, the Rambam explains, a person who made an effort to change something in his life, either to do a mitzvah to improve his life, to do something extra, something different. Zeh shetzidek atzmo, hechriya es kol ha'olam kula v'hitzila. Is able to determine the outcome of all of creation, of the entire world. So I want to talk about this. I heard this first when I was a little boy and it terrified me. And as I get older, it's still a little bit scary, but it gives me tremendous chizuk. When the war began, I don't know what the English date is today. It must be close to the English date. Today's the October 6th. When it was Shmini Atzeres, Simchat Torah, Simchas Torah. When the war began, Am Yisrael felt violated. The terrible, terrible feeling of weakness, of humiliation, of vulnerability. And because of that, there's a tremendous need for chizuk. At a time of war, we need chizuk. We know that Yoav was the commander-in-chief of the army of David HaMelech. And when the soldiers would go to war, Yoav would scream out to them, Chazak v'nis chazak, ba'ad ameinu ba'ad arei Elokeinu. Chazak v'nis chazak. Let us be strong and let us be strengthened. Ba'ad ameinu, for the sake of our nation. U'ba'ad arei Elokeinu. And for the sake of the holy cities of Eretz Yisrael. Arei Elokeinu. And the truth of the matter is that even though Yoav died many years ago and David HaMelech is no longer with us, the goof that we could see, that call continues to go out. And whether a Jew is actually in uniform, one of our brothers or sisters in Eretz Yisrael, in Lebanon, or in Gaza, in the West Bank, wherever, whether in uniform or any Jew who's not in uniform, anywhere in the world. Every single Jew in the world is a chayal. Every single one of us is enlisted in Tzivas Hashem, in Hashem's army. And every single one of us, since October 7th, since Simchas Torah, every single one of us is fighting Ba'ad Ameinu u'Ba'ad Arei Elokeinu. Is fighting for our nation, for our people, and for every town, village in Eretz Yisrael. But a chayal or a chayalet, a soldier who's unarmed, who doesn't have a weapon, or a soldier who does have a weapon, but he doesn't know how to use it, or a soldier who has a weapon and even knows how to use it, but that soldier is frightened. So he or she is of no use. So Hashem is Baruch, the Master of the universe, has appointed us, His soldiers in this world. And Hashem is Hashem L'Kei Tzvakot. Hashem is the true commander-in-chief of this army that we belong to. It must be that each and every one of us is carrying the weapons that we need in order to fight against Oivei Hashem, the enemies of Hashem, and the enemies of His people. So what are the klei neshek? In Hebrew, klei neshek means the weapons. Klei zayin, klei neshek. So what are the klei neshek? How are we armed? What weapons do we carry? So in the Chabad Svarim, there's much discussion of these klei neshek, of the weapons that we have. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Zchus Yigeleinu, besides being a guy in the tzaddik, an ish elokim, a man of God, Lubavitcher Rebbe was also a great expert in warfare. And you all know that there were generals and prime ministers who would consult with the Rebbe, not just for a bracha, but regarding military strategy and warfare. And that great tzaddik who I was oichet to see on many occasions, that great tzaddik revealed to us from the teachings of his illustrious ancestors that each one of us is carrying 4 weapons. Four klei neshek. So the first weapon, the Baal Shem Tov HaKadosh once said, Tzarech le'ahav kol Yehudi, that a Jew has to love another Jew so much, ad shemamish mischashik lo l'chabek u'l'nashik osar. You have to love another Jew so much that when you see another Jew, of course of your own gender, you have to be filled with such love, with such unbelievable love, that you want to run over and hug and kiss that person. Because the word neshek, which means a weapon, is a neshika. What's a neshika? A kiss. So each one of us is given an unbelievable weapon in this war. It's called Ahavas Yisrael, the love of the Jewish people. However, we saw this past year, so much Ahavas Yisrael. There are always going to be cynical and sad people who say negative things. But we saw this year, every Jew was filled with those neshikot, to give to our brothers and sisters. It didn't make a difference, religious, not religious, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Chassidish, Misnagdish, didn't make a difference. All of those peels were removed by our enemies. So much Ahavas Yisrael this past year. So much kindness, so much chesed. This weapon is a very powerful klei neshek of the neshika of one Jew for another Jew. That's the first weapon. When Jews love each other and we give to each other, we're invincible. Our enemies fall beneath our feet. Our enemies can only hurt us if Chalila, we're missing this weapon in our arsenal. If we don't care for each other, if we don't love each other. The second klei neshek, the second weapon, says at the beginning of Shir Hashirim, which is the love story between Kodesh B'Richu and Knesset Yisrael, between Hashem and Am Yisrael. Yishakeini m'neshikos pihu. We ask the Master of the world to kiss us once again with the kisses of his lips. Yishakeinim in the Shikais Pihu. Yitoivim doidecha miyayin. And Rashi says, he brings from Chazal, that when Hashem gave us the Torah at Har Sinai, He kissed us with His mind and His heart. He gave us Himself. Anochi, Ano Nafshi Ksovis Yehovis, Hashem gave us the kiss of His very being when He gave us the Torah at Har Sinai. And when in Shir Shim we say Yishakeinim in the Shikos Piyu, we're asking Kadosh Baruch Hu, we're begging Hashem, kiss us again. We're waiting for the deepest secrets, as Rashi says, we're waiting for the deepest secrets of Torah to be revealed to us. Torah mi'iti teitzeh, it says in Navi, and the Medrash says, Torah chadasha mi'iti teitzeh. The new teachings of Torah that we haven't heard yet. Shabbos will be the same Shabbos, Tefillin, everything will be halacha. But the deepest secrets of Hashem's love for us, the deepest secrets of Torah we don't know yet. Yishakeinim in the Shikais Pihu. The tzaddikim have taught us that when a Jew learns Torah, as you're saying the words of Torah, Hashem is kissing your lips. And He's giving you an understanding of more and more of His Torah. And especially when little children learn Torah. Because little children are pure. They haven't been defiled and corrupted by the world. And therefore the Torah, the Hevel Pi, the words that come out of the mouths of Tinoch Shabes Rabbin, of little children, those words are unbelievably powerful. It says in Tehillim, in Perches, from the mouths of little children, Yisad Ta'oiz, comes all of our strength. Lahashbis, in order to stop and to destroy Oivim Snakim, in order to destroy our enemies. When the little children are saying, Lech Lecha Mi'artzecha, when the little children are saying, Matovu Alecha Yaakov, every single word that comes out of their mouth is blowing up another Hamasnik, is killing another Hezbollah. Every single word of Torah that comes from our mouths is a powerful weapon in the war of Am Yisrael, Ba'ad Ameinu, Ba'ad Arei Elokeinu. That's the second Klei Neshek, the second weapon that we have, Hashem's kiss of Torah. The third Klei Neshek, the third weapon, Neshek Yehudi. The Jewish weapon equals 485. Neshek Yehudi is the gematria, Tehillim. David Malcolm Mashiach was our warrior, and he was our greatest davener. He described himself, Va'ani Tefillah. Not that I daven. Va'ani Tefillah. I am Tefillah. And regarding his descendant who we're waiting for and we're going to see very soon, Mashiach Tzidkeinu, it says in Pasuk, U'v'ruach svasov yomis rasha. There were the ruach of his lips. Mashiach is going to kill the Rishayim. U'v'ruach svasov, u'v'ruach svatav yamit rasha. And Rabbi Nachman Schusilin says, in the second Torah, Lukutei Moharan, Ki Iker Klei Zeinu Shel Mashiach, the main weapon, Klei Zaina's weapon, Klei Neshek, Iker Klei Zeinu Shel Mashiach, Hu Tefillah. The main weapon of Mashiach Tzidkeinu is davening. And the great war that Mashiach is going to lead. And all the conquests of Mashiach. Hakol Misha will come from his mouth, from the lips. The Klei Neshek, the Neshikas of David Malka, Mashiach, of Tehillim. How many millions Pirkei Tehillim, Kapitlach Tehillim was said by Jews everywhere in the world this past year? How many millions of David Malach's words were said and are being said? Rabbi Nachman says, Kamosha Kosev, as it says in Torah, Yaakov said, B'charbi uvakashti, with my sword and with my bow and arrow. And Rashi, the Targum says, Tfilu bakosha, that when Yaakov said, with my sword and with my bow and arrow, of course he had physical weapons. We also have our soldiers, our chayalim, and they're carrying physical weapons. What Yaakov was saying is that the Jewish people have, every Jew, every one of Hashem's soldier. Every soldier has b'charbi u'b'kashti. And Yaakov said b'charbi u'b'kashti with my tefillas and my bakoshes, my davening. And therefore the same David HaMelech, who in Shmuel Beis and Navi in Perikid Gimel is called Ne'im Zmiros Yisrael, Ne'im Zmirot Yisrael, the sweet singer of the Jewish people. Those words, Ne'im Zmiros Yisrael, are the Rosh Tevis Zayin Yod Nun, which is Zayin, which means a weapon. Klei Zayin. That the sweet singer of Am Yisrael, David HaMelech, under his robe carried a sword. And as the Gemara tells us that when it came time, David HaMelech would stop his learning and would take a break from his singing, from his songs, from his Tehillim, and he would lead the Jewish people to war, because that same tzaddik, Ne'im Zmiros Yisrael, was the greatest warrior of the Jewish people, and it's not a contradiction. The Charbi of Akashti, Baruch Svasav Yomis Rasha, the same tzaddik who is destroying our enemies with the words of his lips, would go out to war and lead Am Yisrael in our fight. Ba'ad Ameinu, Ba'ad Arei Elokeinu. And therefore Tehillim, Tefillah is the third weapon of the Jewish people when we're at war. Every single word that you and I say, whether we understand what it means or we don't understand, every Shilam Alois, every single word of Tehillim, every single word of Tefillah, is a powerful weapon. And we don't see with our eyes, we can't see. But if we close our eyes, Hashem Yisbarach said, teaching every one of us, these are your soldiers that I'm assigning to you. And every word that you say of Tehillim, you're saving this one. His name is Elon. This one's name is Moshe. This one's name is Eitan. This one's name is Yitzchak. And this one is about to go into a booby-trap building. And this one is about to walk on the street, and there are Rishonim, Yimach Shemam, who are standing on the roofs with rifles, with guns. And this is your Jew. And these are your Kapitlach Tehillim. And with your words, Yom is Rasha, you're a sniper, and you're going to knock off that guy on the roof. With your words of Tehillim. That's why it says in the Zohar Kodesh, it says by Pinchas, it's Vayikach Romach Biyodo. Romach means a shield, the weapon, the spear, the shield. Romach is Reish Mem Ches. And the Zohar says that 248 that correspond to the 248 words of Kriyat Shema. Our words are weapons. Chas v'sholom, we don't use them properly, we use them to hurt each other. When we say words of Lashon Hara Chalila, we say things that are inappropriate, or we talk in shul, chas v'sholom, then our words are weapons against ourselves, against each other. But when we use our words of davening and of tehillim properly, every single word is mamish, a weapon. And Rabbi Tzadok HaKohen says in Pri Tzadik, V'hu haya shliach tzibur miklal Yisrael b'zeh. That David HaMelech is the shliach tzibur. That David HaMelech is the chazan, is the shliach tzibur of Am Yisrael. He leads us in davening, and he leads us in war. He's the shliach tzibur. And our job is to follow David HaMelech. Our brothers and sisters are physically at war, and all Jews everywhere in the world are at war using the weapon of David Malka Mashiach. And the fourth weapon, the fourth Kli Neshek weapon of the Rosh Hashanah, the letters Neiros Shabbos Kodesh, Neirot Shabbat Kodesh, the candles of the Holy Shabbos. Shabbos, the light of Shabbos, the Menucha of Shabbos. So you have it right. When us Ashkenazim, we go into shul, we say to each other, Good Shabbos. And when we come home to our families, we say, Good Shabbos. But that's not what any of you say when you come home. I hope you don't. That's not what you say. Every single one of you, when you walk into the house, you come back from shul, what do you say? Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. The greatest weapon that we have is Shabbat Shalom, Shabbos, the peace of Shabbos, the or of Shabbos. Another tzaddikim explain that every Shabbos, the Menucha of Shabbos means B'haniach lachem oivechem, so that if you keep Shabbos properly, if your home is filled with the Menucha and the Or of Shabbos, then it brings about B'haniach lachem oivechem, so then we will have peace from our enemies. The Or of Shabbos is the Or of Shabbat Shalom, is the Or of Shalom Bayis. It means that it's not enough just to keep Shabbos, to make Kiddush and Havdalah, and to keep the halachas of Shabbos. Shabbos is the time that we return to each other. Shabbos is the time where we're able to feel that peace of our own families. And the Hakarat HaTov, the Hakarat HaTov, that He gave us each other. And that whatever goes on during the week when we're out in the world and our enemies surround us, we used to imagine, we used to think that here in America we weren't surrounded by our enemies. My father and mother never had such delusions. And I was raised in a home where it was clear to me the only ones who I could trust were each other. Only our own people, only Am Yisrael. So the Kli Neshek that we have of Neiros Shabbos Kodesh, that whatever happens during the week, and surrounded by our enemies, whether in Lebanon or in Gaza, or whether on the streets of New York, London, Paris, or wherever else there are going to be more and more protests of our enemies, or on college campuses. Every one of us has the Neshek of Neiros Shabbos Kodesh. to return to ourselves, to return to our Batei Knesiyot, our shuls, to return to the ones who we love. And there's nothing in the world that is as powerful as that first smell when you walk into the house Friday night. Nothing is as powerful as Shabbat Shalom, as Good Shabbos. Shalom Aleichem Malacha, Shoyes Malacha Elya. In every Good Shabbos, in every Shabbat Shalom, in every song of the Shabbos table, crushes our enemies, destroys our enemies. We don't see with our eyes, but we know. So we have to make peace with our children when you come home Shabbos, the whole time, the whole week also. The Shabbos, whatever it was. You know, the Chassidim have a custom, there are many foods that Chassidim eat. You also have special foods that you eat. The Chassidim have special foods. One of the foods that they eat is fireful. I don't know how you call fireful in English. What is it? Couscous. You know what that is? So it's called, in Yiddish it's called fireful. And the Baal Shem HaKadosh would say that you eat fireful on Shabbos to say that whatever happened during the week is farfallen. It means forget about it. It's finished. So you had a little bit of an argument with your wife, with your husband. It's farfallen. Your kid got you upset, didn't come home on time, was disrespectful. Bo Shabbos Bo Menucha, it's verfallen. Kuloi Or. When Shabbos came into the world, it didn't say Vayer Vayiboker. Shabbos doesn't say Vayer Vayiboker. Everything is light. So these are our weapons. Ahavas Yisrael. Learning Torah, teaching Torah, especially the deeper secrets of Torah, Befrat, which we were taught by the Tzaddikim, by the Bali Hazar, and the Mekubalim is the strongest weapon to reveal light of Mashiach, of the secrets of Torah. But all Torah, to teach Torah, to learn Torah, every word of Torah. The third weapon, Tefillah, davening, Tehillim. And the fourth weapon, the Kedusha of Shabbos, the Orv of that peace of Shabbos, of Shalom Bayis. That when there's peace in our homes, there will be peace in Eretz Yisrael, there will be peace for Jews everywhere in the world. And every single one of Hashem's Chayalim, every soldier, has to believe that he is a vital, needed soldier in Hashem's army, and that the war that we're fighting is Hashem's war. It's the war to save the entire world from the ugliness, the darkness, the rishus of the last mutation of Amalek, which is Ishmael. And Rav Kook Zechat Tzad B'Kosh Levracha writes, in the first volume of his letters, Igeris Shin Aleph. Igeris Shin Aleph, if you have the letters of Rav Kook, look in the Igeris Shin Aleph in the first Chelek. Listen to the words. Kizeh Poshetu. It's clear, it's obvious. Shagam HaYorud Sheba Anoshim. That even the lowest Jew, HaYorud Sheba Anoshim, Im Yatzil Lefonav Shiochelu Lasa is Chesedim Kol Ha'olam Kulo. If even the lowest person was given the opportunity, that it was made known to him, that he has the ability to save the world. Lasas Chesedim Kol Ha'olam Kulo. Yis'oyer B'simcha B'gvura Lasa is Toiv. even the worst criminal, if he was given the opportunity, if he knew that he alone had this chance to save the world, to rescue Mamish, to rescue the world. Rav Kook writes, Yis'ar b'simcha b'gvura, he would be awakened and strengthened with simcha and with gvura, with strength. La'aseh tov, to do that. V'chol atzlus v'arifyon, and all laziness and all negligence, eino ba ki'im michayse emuna begorla ha'tov sh'oise mamish im kol ha'yikum be'esek ha'torah ha'mitzvahs ha'avodah v'zdakich ha'midas. And the only reason that you and I are not coming, let's say, to shul on time, or talking during davening, or not learning what we should be learning, or not careful with our words, is because Rav Kook says we don't realize, we don't believe begodel ha'tov she'osim mamish in kol ha'yikum, that every single word of davening, every single word of Torah, every effort that you and I make to be better, to be kinder, not to get angry, not to look at those things on the computer, not to lift our eyes and look at something we shouldn't look at. Every tiny effort that a Jew makes to be good, to do tshuva, is Toivis Ha'Shoyse Mamish and Kol Yikum. Is you're doing the Toiv, you're doing the biggest chesed for all of creation. And Kol Yikum. Basic Torah HaMitzvahs HaAvodas Dakol means when you work, try to be a little bit less angry this week. That when you feel like saying something you shouldn't say, you hold back. You make that effort. Only Hashem knows that you're trying. When you make an effort to do the right thing, to learn an extra Mishnah, an extra Gemara, to come a minute earlier to daven, to give a smile to a Jew who looks like he's broken and could use a kind word and a smile. When you spend an extra minute, because it means so much to your grandmother, to talk to her a little bit, and you spend an extra minute with your grandmother, your grandfather. An extra minute to give them life, because they're waiting every minute to hear from you and to see you. I never had grandparents. What a schus to be able to have a grandparent. Ashav, who Rav Kook writes, Hey Hashem is Eineinu, B'divrei Kedoshei Elyon Bali Kabbalas Emes. Hashem has illuminated our eyes with the teachings of the great Kedoshei Elyon, the holy ones, Bali Kabbalat Emet, the Mekubalim, Rabbi Shimon, the Ari HaKadosh, and all the Mekubalim. Asher Chivu Lo'idiyah, who wrote a great deal and taught us, as Godly Yikras Avodah, the value of our weapons, the power of our weapons of Torah and Tefillah, and Midas Tovist, how strong a Jew is, the koiches that a Jew has. How a Jew has every single one of us. Remember, he said, I feel even the lowest Jew takes out a Tehillim, opens up a sefer, puts his arm around a friend to give him chizik. Lifting up klolus havai means klaluta havaya, means all of creation. How much more so your own family and your own friends and your own community. So could you imagine? If it would be made known to you or to me that there's a Jew, and you would be told, or I would be told the name of that Jew, who's sitting someplace, God forbid, in a tunnel somewhere, that we can't be masking what it means. Who knows who's even left of those chevra? We can't be masking what it means for those people who are sitting, when was sitting there like that for a year. And if you or I would know, and enough of you would come and say the name of that person, and would say that you should know that your neshama is tied up with the neshama of that Jew who's sitting someplace in that tongue. And that person's life, whether he's going to breathe the next minute, whether he's going to continue to have hope that the day will come that he's going to get out, depends on you. How much the person you or I would be Messiah, b'simcha b'gvura. How you and I would discover within ourselves a certain koch ne'elam, an energy, a strength that we didn't know that we had. And we would do anything. Now we can understand what the Rambam is saying on a very, very real and raw level. That when you and I do a little bit of tshuva, we try better. We try harder. Not just Aseret Shemei Tshuva. That every tiny effort that we make, we're picking up the klei neshek that Hashem Yisborach gave to us. And the Rambam says, and you brought upon yourself, and for those whose neshamas depend on you, tshuva v'hatzalah. Salvation, hatzalah. Rescue. Because each and every nishmas Yisrael, every single soul of a Jew, is bound to the neshamas of all the Jewish people. And there isn't one of us, as Rav Kook writes in the 4th parak of Arsat Tshuva, there isn't a soul of a Jew that's by itself. Even if chas v'chalila, in this world you don't have, you're someplace and you're by yourself, there is no such thing as a Jew that's by himself. Our neshamas are tied together in a great chain. In a rope of many strings, as the Tanya says, Yaakov chevel nachalasa, a chevel, a rope that binds all Jews together. And instead of wasting time watching what the anti-Semites have to say on CNN and CBS, and what the Rishonim have to say on ABC and BBC, and wondering what is it that those who hate us, what chidushim did they come up with today in the United Nations? If instead you would open up another Mishnah, you'd say another Kapitel Tehillim, you'd go 20 minutes over to the Ohel, and you would take our weapons that Hashem gave us to be makeh b'shevet piv. Those anti-Semites would be silenced forever. This past year there's been so much mesirus nefesh of Jews risking their lives to save other Jews. Of Jews learning more Torah than they usually do. Of davening more than usual. So why is it that it's still so hard for us? All of us are Maminim b'nei Maminim, and we believe in the words of the Rambam, the Gemara. The Rambam is only telling us the Gemara and Kedushin. And we believe in all that we're learning, that we have these kaiches, we have such karach ugvura, We have such neshek, such nishikot, such kisses, such weapons. So why is it still so hard? And why is it that we still waste so much time when we're at war, mamish? So there are two problems. Aleph, from the time that we're in the world, we go to school, from the very beginning of our lives, we're used to two types of hashpah. We're used to two ways of influencing and impacting other people, of making changes. The first is by speaking to people. In other words, I believe in something, I know something, and I try to use my kol hadibur, I try to use the gift of my words to influence this other person, to change this person. And now, especially with people, you can have people that they don't know to separate between an aleph and a beis, and you can already be giving Torah classes. Yeah, it's already a podcast. You understand? And he's an influencer with 40,000 followers. The koch of dibur, of hashpah, is something we understand from the time we were in the world, that if I want to change your mind, I could try to talk to you, to reason with you. If I'm a speaker, I could reach other people. And nowadays you can reach 1 million people. Scary? You give a shiur, you can send out clips, but the type of hashpah means that you're a mashpia from the you're a mashpia by speaking to people. You want to hashpah, you can give money, you can give tzedakah to a certain institution, a yeshiva, whatever it is, a hospital, to help people to do things. You can be mashpia in a direct way. That's one type of hashpah. The second type of hashpah is indirect hashpah. Indirect means what? You could be a role model for somebody even though you don't realize it. Somebody will tell you, 25 years later, I want you to know that you had a tremendous influence on my life. And you say, I don't even know who are you. What did I do? You don't realize I had tremendous chizuk from you. I watched how you went through that difficulty that you had in your life. You didn't know, you never met me, I never met you, but I want you to know you changed my life. So there are ways to influence direct and indirect. You have a person writes a book. You can influence all kinds of people through the book. An article. Without directly coming into contact with somebody, there are ways to change people. But what we're learning about today, based on this Rambam, and what Rav Kook is explaining, and you and I all believe in this, that there's another type of hashpah. The problem is we are so used to believing only in those two types of hashpah, direct and indirect. But the most powerful form of influence is not the first two that I just spoke about. It's a third type of hashpah, the one we're learning about today, which we could call hashpah schoolis. Hashpah schoolis means the belief that even if I'm sitting someplace by myself in a basement and nobody in the world knows it, or I'm sitting with a towel over my head, someplace in the corner in shul, and I'm saying these words. Last week, you remember, last day of Shabbos, when we were zeicher to remove that filth of that Russia, I don't want to say his name in a holy place, when they found him and they killed him, you know how they got to him? They used a special kind of a bomb. You know what it's called? A bunker buster. It means that there's a korach that this bomb has. It's an unbelievable thing. This bomb has such a korach to go and dig deep and to find the cockroach where he's hiding. We're learning that there's such a thing, and we believe there's such a koch, that you say a word of Tehillim, it's a mamish, a bunker buster. A word of learning, a word of davening. A nishika, a kiss of Ahavas Yisrael, of Shabbos. It's a hashpah that you don't see with your eyes. When Mashiach comes, those Jews whose lives you and I saved with our words, with our neshikot, with our kisses, they're going to be told by Mashiach that you should know, I want you to meet this person, come here, and they get introduced to her, and you can say, you saved my life. I saved your life? Yeah, you don't know. Because during that year of Tavshin Pei Dad, when the war was going on, it was Chav Beis Nisan, and you were crying when you lit the candles because you were worried about the soldiers. You should know that I was one of those soldiers, that I was just going to a place where they were going to kill me, and you saved my life, and I want to thank you for saving my life. There's a koch, there's an unbelievable koch, a hashpah that's called hashpah school, is that you can't see with your eyes. It's the most powerful hashpah. Since all our neshamas are bound one to the other. When one neshama lifts itself up, when one of us tries a little bit better, when one of us tries to be a better father, a better mother, a better Jew, a better child, when one of us tries a little bit harder to be more pure, that shakes up the entire chain. Because we're woven together in one great tapestry, all of Am Yisrael. As Rav Kook writes in the Eretz HaKodesh, HaNeshama Shekol Yochid, Hu'Mekushim HaNeshama HaKlalus Shekol HaHavaya Kula, that the soul of every individual Jew is tied up to the soul of all creation, to all worlds and all souls. So the first problem that we have is we don't believe in that strongly enough. We think the only way that I can be mashpia, the only way that I can change things, is if I'm the guy that gave $10 million to this cause, which is great, but that's the only way that I can make a difference. Or the only way that I can make a difference is if I give some speech, or if I convince somebody like this, or I have a fight with some anti-Semite and argue and prove my point. That's the only way that I could close the mouth of the Russia. It's not true. I can close the mouth of the Russia by opening my mouth in my corner of Hashem's world, with my Tehillim, with my learning, with my kindness, with a good word, with a call to my grandmother or grandfather. So the first problem is we don't believe in that strongly enough. And we have to be mechazik ourselves. Chazak v'nes chazik bad ameinu bad arei Elokeinu, to use those weapons and to believe in the power of the weapons that we have and the influence, the hashpah of the weapons that we have. Our weapons can go all the way to Tehran. You heard of such a place? Some of you are too young to remember. The older ones here remember Tehran when there were better days in those years. And the weapons of Am Yisrael are going to reach Tehran soon. The physical weapons are going to reach Tehran. But the way that our physical weapons of our soldiers are going to reach Tehran at that moment is because of our weapons that are pushing those missiles, those bunker busters that are going to find even Khomeini and Mach in his basement. That's going to happen soon. But those bombs are going to be sent by our words, by our Shabbos, by our Tehillim, by our Mishnah, by our Gemara, and our Klei Neshek. And therefore, the Navi says, I'll be finished soon. I'm sorry. I didn't come last year, so I'm a little bit more. And therefore, the Navi says, the Navi Yirmiyahu says in Perikut Gimel, you should know that Hashem is crying. And this is the second problem that we have. Hashem is crying. It says in Pasuk, "B'mistarim tivka nafshi." Hashem has a hiding place. It says, "B'mistarim tivka nafshi." Hashem is crying in this hiding place. Why? So it says in Pasuk, "Mibnei geva." When they gave the simple meaning of the pasuk is because us being arrogant. Gaiva is a lashon of gava, conceit. Hashem is crying because we're arrogant. But the Gemara in Chagiga says it's much deeper than that. It's that we're not proud enough of who we are. B'nei geva means b'nei gavos she Yisrael, b'nei gavatan she Yisrael, shenit lemehem b'nit l'umas ha'olam. This is the first Torah in Likutei Moharan. Gavos she Yisrael means that we don't have the confidence to believe how much Hashem loves us. We don't believe that He has given even people like ourselves the koach to use these weapons. We believe that tzaddikim can do this. Tzaddikim maybe a tzaddik's davening, a tzaddik's learning. So here you believe that we have weapons. You believe that Tehillim is powerful. You believe that learning is powerful. You believe that Shabbos is powerful. You believe that Harvest Israel is powerful, but not yours. Because why? Because I did this Avera yesterday, I did this Avera last week, I did this Avera, I do these Averas, but I'm not such a person. So Hashem doesn't give me the ability to use these weapons because I've been rendered weaponless, because I'm worthless. So Hashem is crying, but Mr. Tiv Kanashi, but Negavoshu Shi Yisrael, that we're not proud of who we are. Like Rav Kook says, even I feel of course we have to be better. But even the lowest Jew in the world is infinitely higher than the highest one of theirs. And therefore, on Yom Tov we ask Hashem, don't take us into judgment. Don't come with us into judgment. And the tzaddikim taught, means don't just take us with you into judgment. Do me a favor, when you take me into judgment, bring from the Umas Olam, bring a guy also into judgment, together with me, and then make a choice who's better. We're not proud of who we are. We don't believe that we have this which is called in Tanakh, Gaon Yaakov, the confidence, the pride of being a Jew. Tnu Oz Elokim. It's hard even to say the words Tnu Oz Elokim, that Hashem, the Shechina in this world, of course Hashem in His essence, we don't understand, but Hashem made it in this world, that we give Him strength, Kiv Yachal. That if we're not proud of who we are, and we don't know that we have these weapons, then Hashem, Kiv Yachal, is crying without strength in a corner someplace. Hashem says, give me strength. And then you look and say, me? I should give you strength? Hashem says, yes. You're davening, you're tilling, you're midas, you're tshuva. Tnu Oz Elokim. But that very same Navi Yirmiyahu, who revealed to us these words that Hashem is crying because we made ourselves like into nobodies, into lemachs, into nothings. That same Navi, at the very beginning, did not want to be a Navi. You know that? Yirmiyahu Navi did not want the job, just like Moshe didn't want the job. Yirmiyahu Navi did not want the job. And Hashem says to the Navi Yirmiyahu, Hashem is appointing him, Hashem says, before you were even formed in your mother's womb, I already prepared you for this job. Before I even formed you in your mother's womb. You're the man. You have to go. You're the Navi. What does Yirmiyahu say? Aha, Hashem Elokim. Hashem, I don't even know how to talk. I'm not an influencer. Yeah? I don't even have a podcast. What Jew doesn't have a podcast? I don't even have a podcast. I'm not an influencer. I don't know how to talk. I don't know how to write articles. I don't know how to do interviews. I'm not rich. I can't build a yeshiva. I can't build a shul. So the Navi Yirmiyahu says, Lo yadati daber. Now listen, ki na'ar anochi. What does it mean, na'ar anochi? I'm a child, I'm a young person, na'ar. And na'ar means not only in age, it means I'm a nobody. When you want to say somebody's a fool in Yiddish, you say he's a nar. A nar. A nar means a garnish on nothing. Kinar anochi. So no, Yirmiyahu, we can't comprehend Yirmiyahu Navi's greatness. A Navi. So Hashem says to him, go out and help my people and save Am Yisrael. And the Navi says, I don't know how to talk, because the only way to save people is by talking. I don't know how to change them. I can't change them. I can't influence them. I'm a nar, I'm a nobody, I'm a kid, I'm nothing. So what does Hashem? Hashem starts yelling at him. And Hashem says, Al toima nar anochi. And Hashem's saying that to me and you also. If you think that when you're on the computer and you go to that place, chas v'shalom, that you shouldn't look at, and you think, what difference does it make in the world? What difference does it make to some soldier, or to a hostage? What difference does it make to all of creation? What difference does it make to my kids and my grandchildren, or the great-grandchildren that I don't even know yet? What difference does it make if I look at that disgusting thing on the computer? Kinar anochi. I'm a nobody. What difference do I make? So Hashem says to you and to me, Al toima nar anochi. Don't say that, Kinar anochi. And then Hashem says, I'm going to tell you who you are. Remember, even the simplest and lowest Jew. Hashem says, I'm going to tell you right now who you are. This is who you are. Listen to this. I've appointed you in control of all the goyim, of all the world. And over all nations. Limtois, laharis, to uproot, to overthrow, to destroy, and to plant. And you can see like a person saying, you're talking to me? And Hashem says, I'm talking to you. I could do what? Again, Hashem says, Lintois, laharos, to overthrow, to destroy, to crush. Vilin Torah, and to plant good, and to plant worlds. Because every single Jew has an Asek, has a business with all of creation, with the biggest influences, infinite influences of all of creation. And therefore Hashem Baruch Hu, who is the real commander-in-chief, is telling each and every one of us, Chazak, Chazak, Chazak v'nin Chazek, Ba'ad Ameinu, Ba'ad Elokeinu. And he's saying to us, Al toima nar anochi, don't say that you're not strong. And in that 8th chapter of Tehillim in Kapitel Ches, where it says, Mi piyolim yonkim yisaratos, the man seirech lahashbis oiv mistakim, which means that even a little child has the ability through his davening and learning to silence the enemies and to take revenge against the enemies of the Jewish people. So it says, V'techashrei ma'at me'elokim, because the Jews, V'techashrei ma'at me'elokim, is a little bit less than God. It doesn't mean in his chalila, but we're the closest to Hashem. Hashem has put the Jewish people in control of all of creation. Everything that exists is at the feet of the Jewish people. And that's why the way that Tehillim starts is with the words Lam Natseach ala Gitis Mizmel David. I'm going to be finished in 2 minutes. Lam Natseach ala Gitis Mizmel David. What does it mean Lam Natseach ala Gitit? What does it mean, Gittis? So there are all explanations. Usually the English just writes it in English, Gittis. Okay, is it some people, some place? Chazal tell us it's the lashon of gas, like a wine press. You know, they used to, how they made grapes and how they made wine and olive oil. They would step on, they would crush it. And Chazal tell us the David Melech was saying into the future, on the Tzerach ala Gittis, Mizmel David. The David Melech was saying, Chaver, say my song, say my Tehillim. Because Hashem promises us that the time is going to come where you're going to crush the enemies of the Jewish people like grapes and like olives under your feet. And our problem is we say, I don't know how to do. I can't, not me, I can't do anything. I can't change things. I can't help. Every one of us is now obligated, always, but especially when there's a war, to enlist and to be in the war, and to fight in the war, and to be strong, and to be brave and courageous in the war. There's much more to say, but I'll just tell you a little story. The news of what happened during the Holocaust, the entire horrible picture of what happened didn't reach Yerushalayim until the very end of the war. Remember that in those days, the communication was not anywhere what it is now. That even though in Eretz Yisrael they had heard that there were terrible shchitot that were taking place, and they heard that many Jews were killed by the Germans, Yamach Shemam, but they didn't know in Eretz Yisrael to what extent. They didn't know about the gas chambers, the crematory, they didn't know what had happened. They were terrified because they knew they all had relatives in Europe, but they didn't know to what extent. They didn't know whether the brother, the sister was alive, the kid, the parent, the grandparent. They didn't know. Slowly, towards the end of the war, the horrible truth and some pictures began to make their way into Yerushalayim. And the entire holy city of Yerushalayim and the cities of Eretz Yisrael were in a state of shock and avelus and mourning, screaming and crying on the streets like in Shushan Habir. And there was a Rosh Yeshiva at that time, the Yeshiva of the Chevron Yeshiva of Cheskel Sarna. It was Rosh Hashanah right before blowing the shofar. And you know that we say certain psukim by Tkir shofar, by shofar blowing. And it came time for Rav Chazkel, for the Rosh Yeshiva, to say the psukim and to blow the shofar. And he was standing up there, and everybody was waiting in silence. And Rav Chazkel all of a sudden said the following. I mean, I'm sure he said it to those guys in the yeshiva in Yiddish back then, but the way it's written in the Sefer in Hebrew is the following. Ma daitechem rabosai. He was talking to everybody in the Beis Medrash. Ma daitechem rabosai. What do you think? Ma hayu mislachashim la'atzmam oisam hayudim. Ma hayu mislachashim la'atzmam otam hayudim. Those Jews, our relatives, our families, those Jews, achenu v'achetenu, our brothers and sisters, kashayu krum, and they were buried, hiding in bunkers, underneath Warsaw and Lodz and all the other places. What do you think they were whispering to each other? When they heard on top of them in the house, when they heard on top of them the cleared boots of the Nazis, looking for Jews. What did the Jews down there in the bunker, what were they whispering to each other at that moment? So of course, he wasn't asking the pshat of what they were whispering. Of course they were whispering to each other, Shah, Shah, Shah. Don't cry, don't make a sound, don't make a sound. They're going to hear us, they're going to hear us. But inside the neshamas, it was something else altogether. He says the following. Ma bikshu berega zumamish. What were they asking for? That last moment. What were they asking for? Atem yodim ma bikshu. Do you know what they were asking for? And then he said the pasuk that we say by blowing the shofar, the pasuk. For the same chapter in Tehillim. Yad ber amim tachteinu. U'le'umim tachas ragleinu. Nations, our enemies, are going to be crushed, and kingdoms under our feet. And then the Rosh said, Tachas ragleinu, and he repeated, screaming and crying, Tachas ragleinu, Tachas ragleinu, Tachas ragleinu. That's what they asked for that last moment in the bunker. They didn't know if they were going to survive, but they believed in the nitzchus of Am Yisrael. That Am Yisrael is not nitzchi, is Am Yisrael's forever netzach Yisrael yishakeh. And then even if they were not going to get out of that bunker, they believed that Am Yisrael was going to win. And therefore that last moment was with that belief deep inside of their hearts, even if they couldn't say anything with their lips. But in their hearts they knew. And in the end, Yad ba'amim tachteinu, ulumim tachas ragleinu, tachas ragleinu, tachas ragleinu. That's what we're going to see, Chaim. Tachas ragleinu, under our feet. And the outcome will be soon. But it depends on our being courageous soldiers that take up the weapons of the Jewish people and fight the final war before Mashiach comes. And then we're going to be zeicher for that day, each and every one of us. We're going to be zeicher to see David HaMelech himself smiling. And David HaMelech and Mashiach is saying, I'm so proud of my warriors. And they're going to be these like old bubbies. They're going to say, I'm a warrior of yours. And David HaMelech is going to say, Mashiach is going to say, what do you mean? You're my strongest warrior, Bubby. You're there saying Tehillim. Nobody said Tehillim like you. You're the best Tehillim, Zog. You're the best Tehillim. Nobody said Tehillim like you, Grandma. And that grandmother's going to smile from me. It's like from one end of the universe to the other end of the universe, knowing that she was a soldier that brought Mashiach Tzidkeinu. And all of us are such soldiers. Let's be brave. Let's be courageous. Stop paying attention to what the anti-Semites say. Don't waste your time with that stupidity, with those lies. Learn, daven, do mitzvahs, smile, be good to other Jews, be besimcha, make strong hakafis. Don't make hakafis of crying and mourning. Make hakafis. When we went around Yericho, how did we come to Eretz Yisrael? Yericho was the lock, Chazal say, of Eretz Yisrael, that our enemies were holding us away from coming home. How did we break through the walls? We blew the shofar, and we made our coffers. We already blew the shofar yesterday. The time is coming, we're going to make our coffers. And the word shofar has the letters schok pinu or shonenu rina. Of the letters shofar. Schok pinu of the Jikva says that. Schok pinu shonenu rina means, and on that day when Mashiach comes, oz yimole schok pinu. Then the laughter of our enemies, it's already being silenced. They're not smiling so big anymore in Tehran. You know that. Every time there's a bird that flies over, they're ducking. It's good. Then our mouths are going to be filled with the laughter. Our children, our parents, our grandparents, those who are no longer in the world are going to come back to life, together with us coming back to life. And we're going to say to Mashiach Tzidkeinu, Yechi Adonenu Moreinu V'Rabbeinu, Mashiach Tzidkeinu L'olam V'ed, V'Dugula Hashem Av Amitis, B'Mehevi Amen Amen V'Amen.